Good evening. Joanne has asked me to let you know that on the gym, in the gym on Thursday, they're going to have their Valentine's party. She's going to be showing Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. It's called The Chipmunks Valentine. Everybody is invited. It starts at 10:45. She'll be serving popcorn. After that, they're going to have cupcakes and juice. It will be a great time. And she's also said that on Friday, this Friday, she's going to speak to Kevin Cazell from Algona to discuss a sports league and clinic for the Pacific Algona Auburn participants. At the Senior Center, we are going to be having our Valentine's party on Friday. Everybody is welcome. It's just going to be a small event. We're just going to have goodie bags, play Trivial Pursuit in the afternoon for lunch, and maybe frost cookies. That's pretty much all. I do have the sign-up sheet for the first annual Citizens Appreciation Dinner. If anybody would like to sign up, I could pass it around and you can sign up as you feel like it. It was March 22nd, Saturday. Well, that's fine. You don't have to sign right this minute. That's understandable. It's Saturday, the 22nd, 5 to 7. We're going to have lasagna. We're also going to have a white elephant bingo. The prizes will be in bags and staples, so you can't pee. So that will be fun. Our tickets are $10 a piece. We are going to be accepting pre-orders on those. The proceeds go to the fundraiser for the youth and the senior activities. Is there any questions or comments?
Any questions? No? Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
Okay, any reports from council members?
We have that governance team that didn't get on here, so it's just appropriate. Sure. We have the new governance committee, myself, Dick Cave, and Councilman Gary Halsey, Councilman Dick Cave, and myself, and we are working on a resolution for professional legal services, some changes in our legal services, and the ordinance for the motorhomes, boats, and working on rewording that. So that's what we're working on so far.
Great. Thank you. Questions? Okay. Finance committee, did you have anything to report? Your meeting Wednesday?
Just that one meeting Wednesday.
Okay. Great. And then human services committee?
We didn't meet last week. I don't think we'll meet until next month.
Probably next month.
Okay.
Unless somebody has something.
Okay. Public Works Committee, just reported you guys. Anything else? Okay. Technology is meeting on Thursday. Park Board, have anything to report?
No, as long as you pass my, I'm good. Do you have any questions about? Hi. Do you have any questions about the ordinance, or can I talk about those later?
You can talk about those when we get there if we have questions. Anything else you'd like to report on at the Park Board?
No, just that we are anxiously awaiting our new members. We will be doing Earth Day on April 26th, and we invite you all out. And I'll be sitting on that.
Thank you, Kate. So, Civil Service Commission, for Planning Commission.
Just a heads up that we're going to be bringing a few things to workshop next week. The Planning Commission work plan, capital facilities plan updates that we're bringing to council. And I think that's it for now. So Planning Commission's got a lot on their plate, and it sounds like there's going to be even more. So look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Paula. Okay, so Pierce County Regional Council. Who's on that committee?
No, Josh is.
Josh is. Okay, I need to talk to him.
I'm going to talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Sound Cities Association is meeting this Wednesday, so I can report back on that. Depending, I think later on we have a conversation on recommendations that council would like me to take back to Sound Cities Association regarding the King County Transportation Benefit District. So, and then on skateboard, I reported on that at our last meeting. We haven't met yet. Valley Regional Fire Authority. Well, and I sit on that as well, and we meet tomorrow. So there's really nothing to report since our last meeting. So. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the public hearing. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and I will let Jim Morgan take it over for his presentation regarding the formation of the Transportation Benefit District.
I'm going to speak from here. I'll try to speak loud enough so everyone can hear, and I'll try and speak slow enough so that people can follow. I know I have a tendency to rush through these things sometimes. So back in 1987 is when the first legislative process was put forward to form a TBD, a Transportation Benefit District. It was amended in 2005, again in 2007, and also again in 2010. Basically, as they were going through the process, they realized they needed to clarify things, and so they made amendments along the way, and then 2010 is the last time they sort of did it, to just sort of expand what can be done, and again, make sure people understood what they could and could not do. Now, since 2010, numerous cities throughout the state have joined that. I've got a list of those jurisdictions. Some are very small, some are very large. The first two, actually, Liberty Lake formed one in 2002, and then there was one at Point Roberts, apparently backed by Whatcom County in 1992, before it was formalized, or right after it was formalized in 1987. These were a couple of the first jurisdictions to implement them. What is a transportation benefit district? It is basically, it's similar to like a port district, or VRFA is another example. It can or cannot be, lots of times it's overlays the city. It's the exact same corporate boundaries as the city would have, but it could be multiple cities joined together to form a transportation benefit district, or it could be a portion of two cities or a portion of two counties. It's just another government entity whose sole purpose is to fund and support transportation needs in a given geographic area. Who may create one? As I said, a city can create it, a county can create it, or a port district could create it, or a combination of cities or counties can form a transportation benefit district. Who sits on the board of, when you develop a transportation benefit district, who will sit on the board that makes the decision? When it's a city that makes that decision, it's generally, it will be the city council will be that board that governs. Again, it's a different entity than the city itself because it provides some flexibility that is not necessarily provided under the city's current setup. Primarily that deals with revenue issues. Transportation Benefit District has some revenue options that the city itself does not have open to it. Why create a TBD if the county or city already has some of this governing authority? I sort of talked about that a little bit earlier, in that it has some funding options available that a city itself does not have, or a county itself would not have. You have to form this transportation benefit district to avail yourself of these funding mechanisms. Are the TBD revenues required to be spent as they are collected? In other words, do I have to spend it the same year I get it? And no, it's not a requirement, because some projects take a longer period of time to develop and finance, and as long as you have that project in your transportation plan, then you will fund and stick some money away so that when you get to the end of your planning period and your design period and you're ready to construct, you will have monies available. What transportation improvements can be funded by a TBD? It's as varied as you might want. It can be as simple as continued maintenance of existing streets. It can be brand new streets in order to increase capacity. It can be modifications of traffic signals or to interlink traffic signals for more fluidity in the transportation corridor. So there's a variety of projects that can be used. Generally, people are looking at transportation benefit districts either for a new arterial that's of need or for maintenance of the existing streets, because right now the existing laws do not have a mechanism for small entities such as cities to fund your routine operation and maintenance, with the exception of a transfer from the general fund, but there's no revenue source available for it. The transportation benefit district does have some revenue options that are not available to the city, as I stated earlier. Streets have different classifications. You've got arterials in City Pacific, the main arterials in Ellington, Stewart, 3rd Avenue, Milwaukee, and frontage in West Valley. Then you've got some of the collector streets, and then you got the local minor streets, the little cul-de-sacs that feed into the collector streets that then get to the arterials. And I bring that up because we'll get to some of the other funding issues as I delve into that a little bit more. The green streets are federally classified arterial streets on this map. The purple ones are collectors, but are also considered arterials by the city because they're the main routes throughout the city. And then you can see 167 and some of the other streets outside the city. What is street maintenance? It's crack sealing and pothole filling. You'll see our crews do that in the summer sometimes. Another thing is resurfacing the streets is also a maintenance project. Whether it's a simple transportation or a simple resurfacing such as a chip seal, which can be very effective on your smaller collector streets, cul-de-sacs, it'll add some life to it on these roads that don't get as much wear and tear. On streets that are your arterials, your collectors that have a heavier load of traffic, then you're going to look at things more often like a grind and an overlay. In fact, this summer we will be doing a grind and overlay out here on 3rd Avenue with funding that we received from the Transportation Improvement Board. Then we have some streets, you'll see that the street has started to alligator. It looks like alligator skin. Usually there's a depression associated with it. It'll puddle up during the wintertime. These, generally, we need to go in and do some deep patch repair. Once you cut out the asphalt that's there, you actually go in and rebuild the subgrade 12 to 18 inches and then re-asphalt patch over the top of that. We will have some of that associated with the work we do here on 3rd Avenue this summer. That way, when you do your overlay over the top, you know you've got a good subgrade to work with. And then there's outright reconstruction. We have some streets in town here that, when they were built 30 years ago, they were just little neighborhood streets, and unfortunately, back then, the standards weren't as good as they could have been, and so the streets are just falling apart. Some of those streets are going to need full reconstruction. Transportation maintenance funding alternatives. With arterials, there are some grants available. I talked about the TIB grant that we have for 3rd Avenue this year. We will be applying for a couple more grants in the next few months for projects such as Milwaukee and then eventually West Valley. We've got Valentine Avenue and Stewart Road that will be reconstructed starting a little later on this year. Those are funded primarily by grants with a small amount of local funding. Another option is to go with general obligation bonds. That's where you sell bonds and it's backed by the taxing ability of the city to repay those bonds. And then the fourth option that I have there is the Transportation Benefit District, which is what we're here meeting about this evening. Transportation benefit districts, where can they get their funding? Basically, their sources of funding, they can add another a fee on the license tab. They can put a property tax levy. They can increase the sales tax, or they can increase, they can look for possible tolling options. Tolling is going to be, the problem with tolling is you've got associated costs. In order to collect the revenue, you've got to pay someone to handle all that, so it's not as clean as it could be. The sales tax option requires that you must go to a vote of the citizens in order for that option to pass. A property tax levy also must go for a vote. I talked about the fact that some jurisdictions have formed transportation benefit districts, and some have gone these other routes of the property tax and the sales tax. I believe we tried the property tax levy in 2011 and it did not pass. And then the other one is the license tab fee. The transportation benefit district itself can implement a $20 fee without going to a vote of the people. Greater than that amount, it must go to a public vote. Basically, here's the kind of revenues that are gained if you were to use a 25-cent per $1,000 valuation on properties. You're looking at about $140,000 the transportation benefit district would receive. A license tab of $20 per vehicle, it's about $105,000 in revenue that a transportation benefit district receives. The local sales tax option of adding 0.2%, the transportation benefit district might see about $125,000 in income. A few years ago, we put together a 20-year transportation improvement plan. I know it's kind of hard to read this. There's actually 3 pages of this, in which we went street by street looking at what could we do to improve, to make sure that we are preserving what we already have that's in good shape. What are some things that we can minimally do to extend the life of some of the streets? In what streets do we really have to go back in and reconstruct altogether? And that's what this looks at. It looks at the cost, and then we sort of assign a year where we might foresee doing the construction so that it was manageable. What are the priorities? This is the thing that the Transportation Benefit District is going to have to look at. Do we want safe pedestrian facilities, more crosswalks? Do we want to look at street lighting? Are we going to assess street pavements and look at repair and preservation? Or are we just going to wait and just say, we'll wait until we need to replace them altogether? Do we want to look at how we adjust traffic flow? So here's some options. Keep doing what we're doing. Spend more time, evaluate more streets, reprioritize general fund uses and try and transfer more funds, or look at a combination of options.
Questions from council? Councilmember Holmes.
I remember something off the call assessment. Assessing the property additions to the equipment.
You could go with an LID approach, yes. That is another option that is open to the city, is to form an LID. And that's one that the people would have an opportunity to say yes or no on the formation of the LID. They can protest it. For example, Valentine Avenue, we do have an LID formed on that project because those property owners are going to receive significant benefit from the improvements on Valentine, so they will be paying for a portion of that road improvement. The one problem with the road LID is when you decide you're going to do that, the assessment cannot exceed the increased value that the property will receive for the road improvement. That's the potential downfall there, because, yeah, you've repaved my road and it looks great, but it hasn't necessarily increased my property value significantly. So that's a cost-benefit analysis equation that has to be analyzed.
Other questions from council? Councilmember Jones.
Well, Not so much as a question, it's about a situation that's coming up later on in our conversation related to the FCA's support or non-support of King County's decision to do some, basically the same thing we're talking about now, but at their level, and which they would tax our citizens the same way we're talking about doing a TBD here. And we would see a lot less of a reward, in my mind, by allowing them to do it, not us to take care of our own backyard, in my mind. You know, because they're gonna give us back a portion of what they feel we deserve after they've taken our money. So I think in the long run, it's more beneficial for us to put together our own, for our own benefit.
Other questions from Councilmember Hull?
The downfall on TBD is that, first off, King County has to send it to the voters. If they turn it down, then it ain't gonna happen. Second off, the people that are going to be most adversely affected are the seniors on fixed income who are getting their vehicles that they use maybe once a week to go get groceries with, inordinately taxed. And that's why when this comes up, I will be voting no on it.
Yes, Councilmember Case.
I think based on what I just heard, I think it's in our best interest to form a TBD, even if we don't implement funding mechanisms for it initially, just so that if this thing from King County passes and we get the money, rather than putting that money into general fund revenues, it goes to the TBD for the city, and it's only going to be used for those improvements, which is probably what it will be anyway, just because of the way it's being collected at the county level. And then if we find other ways to fund this district, which it sounds like there's a lot more available to us to include donations, that we currently can't do as a city. So I think it's a good idea to form the TBD, even if we don't act on it with any sort of funding mechanism at this time.
Councilmember Canute.
So if we do the license tab fee, does that also include commercial vehicles or businesses that have commercial vehicles?
It's all vehicles registered within the TBD boundary. Now, yeah, all vehicles registered within the TBD, whose mailing address is within the TBD boundary.
Councilmember Case.
Does that include like tow vehicles as well, trailers, things like that? Or is it
I would
just
have to look
motorized
into that.
vehicles?
I'm not sure how it fits with the towed vehicles. It is a license tab, so I would suspect that it does apply to those as well.
Councilmember Canute.
Are the repairs to the roads going to be done by professional repair services or the maintenance crews for public works?
That's a council, or that would be a TBD decision on how it would be done. Now remember, TBD is a separate entity from the city, so TBD will manage the money and hire who they want to do it. What happens in most of these jurisdictions is there's an interlocal agreement in which the city has an interlocal agreement with the Transportation Benefit District for the use of staff for agendas, meeting minutes, and things of that nature. But not necessarily the public works group. Because generally if you're looking at, let's say, chip seal, that's something you're going to hire someone that specializes in that. And there's opportunities to partner with other jurisdictions as well. You might have your own separate thing. The city of Sumner every year says we're going to spend X amount on chip sealing. They put the contract out, they get 2 or 3 bids, because there's only a few people that actually do the work. Then they come in, usually in August, and they do the work, and that's it. Well, if the city of Pacific or the Transportation Benefit District wanted to do that, they could talk to the city of Sumner, potentially partner with them by having more work for one contractor. You reduce the mobilization cost. That's the cost of bringing all the equipment, manpower, et cetera, into the area to do the work.
Councilmember Johnson.
Well, you know, we talk about the cost to the citizens at the $20 range. If you look at what King County is going to, the ability, potential to charge individuals can be a lot higher than the $20. We're not going to get that $20 back, in my mind, you know. And as far as, you know, I got 4 vehicles, I got 5 vehicles, so I'm looking at $100 more, you know. But, and if it goes to King County, it's going to get a lot more than that, you know. So they're going to, whether it's going to pass or not, I don't know. But I would sure like to see the city's ability to take advantage of what we have to. I mean, I voted this down last time. I fought it 2%. But I could see what's going on with King County. And King County's looking at Metro. And Metro's going to take care of the bigger cities first. The money's going to go to the bigger cities. And we're going to get the smaller portion of that pie. But our citizens are still going to get taxed. You know, so I'd like to, in that mindset for me, I'd rather have the citizens taxed and that money being utilized within the city limits. So if that's, I'm sure that's the boundary with the TBD we're going to establish. So, you know, anyway.
Councilmember Stichels.
One thing though, is looking at this $20, this $20 is not gonna replace what King County's already done. So if we go for 20, it's gonna be another 20 on top of the 20 we already got it for. And I got 7 cars, and I got 2 drivers, and I will guarantee you, between the 2 of us, we do not drive as many miles a year than you drive with 5 cars, or whatever.
Well, my drive's 1.1 miles one way to work.
So,
Point of order.
But nonetheless, you know,
Councilmember Jones, Councilmember Stichels has the floor.
this whole thing isn't right. I mean, it's because it should be based on how much the vehicle is actually used, not how many you have.
So, Councilmember Jones.
Well, the only issue I have with that is how would you identify, you know, the amount of mileage? Are we going to put things in our cars, document the mileage? I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for the oversight control, you know. But, you know, it comes down to everything. I don't know what's right, what's wrong, or the balance. You got 7 cars, I got 5 cars. One person has 1 car, you know. Maybe we have committee cars, I don't know.
So the point of the public hearing is to ask questions of staff
I know.
regarding the Transportation and Benefit District and to give the citizens an opportunity to ask questions as well. Councilmember Kay.
Yeah, I think we all need to keep in mind why these little districts and boards are forming. It's because the state and the county and the cities have reached their constitutional limits for taxation. Once they've reached their constitutional limits for taxation, they have to come up with creative ways to tax you, which doesn't break the Constitution of the United States, taxation laws that we have in place, and so they come up with these fees. And these fees are taxes, but they don't get called taxes constitutionally, and that's why they're here, and that's why we're dealing with them.
Councilmember Knudsen.
Is there any provisions for seniors, any kind of fee waivers or discounts? I know.
Not that I'm aware of. It's because, well, if the property tax is, would be assigned to the property valuation, sales tax is the value of what is purchased, and the license tab is a flat rate on each license tab that's purchased. There's no modification.
Any other questions for council? All right, questions from the audience. Anybody have any comments or questions? They like, come on in.
Okay. Jean Fancher, 37248 55th Avenue South. I have the pleasure of living on West Hill with no paved streets in my particular, serving my house or my neighbor's house. County roads. There's an area to the south that has
paved streets and stuff, but I don't know if there's any maintenance up there. That's just sort of information for the council. I get down here on county roads, but I also have the good fortune of knowing a fellow who lived in Hawaii for quite a while, where their vehicle fees were based on weight. And so is there any provision to have a fee based on weight? If you've got big, heavy trucks that are going up and down the road, you pay a little more than somebody who has a smaller, lighter vehicle or a motorcycle. Also, I think we could document mileage. Wouldn't have to put a transponder in there, but a toll road documents mileage, because when you go past the toll station, you have had to drive on the road. So I would be in favor of weight fees or toll roads, so that people who are using the roads from out of the city are the ones who are paying for the repairs. Thanks.
Any other comments from the audience?
Kate Hone, 102 Alder Lane South. So the taxing authority, is that the taxing authority that the city currently does not have? Well, I mean, you have and these are not the real numbers. The city can bill us at $2, and legally they can bill us at $2.05. Is that 5 cents the taxing authority that this TBD would take? Or would the city still be able to tax up to the legal limit of $2.05?
It is an addition to the taxing authority of the city. Because it is a separate entity that is doing the taxation. It is the Transportation Benefit District as opposed to the city.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the audience?
My name is Howard Gustafson. I live on County Line Road, and I'm glad to hear some of you folks speaking about what it does to those of us who are senior citizens. I have, as an example, a motor home that I use out of my place 10 days a year. I would have to pay a $20 tap on it. I have a pickup that I use maybe 6 or 7 times a year. I'd have to pay $20 on it. I've been going around and around with King County. They've been trying to charge me $20 for a King County fee for the last several years. And I've gone all the way to Olympia, and they've refused to say, they said they can't do anything about it. But I've been able to talk to somebody in the license division down here, and they've been able to reduce that $20 fee. So right now, to me, it would just be a burden, and like they say, if we have one here, plus whatever they might have come up with at the county level, it's going to hurt people like me. Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Second call for comments from the audience. Okay, third and final call for audience comments from the audience. Seeing none, that closes our